Welcome to Abu Dhabi Talks. My name is Sana, and with me are the lovely Ro and Freya.
We have with us today Donna Howard, who is a menopause wellness coach, and she has a Facebook group called, I want to say this right now, Harmonious Her. Is that correct?
That is indeed correct. Well done.
And you need to explain to us, first of all, about the menopause.
Right. Okay. So hello to you lovely ladies, and hello to everybody that's watching. So menopause, well, let's put it this way. Every lady in the world will go through menopause, be it surgically, be it naturally. Okay. And are you all right? I know you're years off yet, Sana. Don't you worry.
Yes. Yeah, no right doing this.
Me and Ro are like big ears at the moment.
Yes.
We're like listening.
So with regards to the menopause, it's kind of a decline of the female hormones. So you're thinking of your estrogen and your progesterone, and there's other hormones in there, but I won't bore you too much with science. So you kind of gradually see a decline as you get older. So this can come about from your late 30s and from your early 40s, and we'll stick to the perimenopause, menopause and postmenopause. So in the perimenopausal phase, this is where a lot of the ladies will see the changes. They'll feel the changes. It is quite significant in the whole process. So on average, it's more likely that it's early 40s, but some ladies can experience it as early as late 30s, and some ladies from mid-30 onwards, but that's obviously quite rare. So during that time, from early 40s, as the female hormones are declining and you're experiencing all these changes, it can be quite traumatic. And this part, the perimenopausal phase, is the traumatic part of the whole menopause journey, as you will. And if a lady's
Sorry, why is it the most traumatic?
The reason why it's most traumatic is because it's when the body sees the most decline of the female hormones. I'm going to focus on estrogen. That's when you'll see the biggest decline, and the whole menopause is about an imbalance of these hormones, and as ladies will feel the effects of this imbalance. But the perimenopause, if you kind of think, you've got this lovely line when ladies of a certain age where you're fertile, you're having your gorgeous babies or not. So it's all quite same, and then you get the dip. And for some ladies, it can be quite a shock. Now you hear a lot about hot flashes and sleepless nights, etc. But there's quite a high percentage of ladies where the biggest effect for them is the mental health. It didn't occur to me that, you might be perimenopausal, Donna. Off you go and see somebody. I kind of suffered in silence. It all kind of caved inwards, and that is what can happen with a woman if she's not prepared, if she's not educated about the menopause, and specifically the perimenopausal phase. She will wonder what on earth is happening to her, because the symptoms, last count, you've got approximately 66 symptoms of menopause, and each lady will have different symptoms, and she will suffer in with different severity. One will be worse than the other, and again, as she's transitioning through to menopause, it can kind of chop and change dependent how her hormones are. So
what are the most common, though? What are the most common, you would say, symptoms?
The most common ones are the hot flushes, mental health, anxiety, lack of sleep, dizziness, lack of confidence, and a kind of her own sense of well-being. She'll feel differently. She'll question why she doesn't have enough energy, why she's perhaps more moody than normal, why she's reacting in a different way.
My God, am I going to get more moody? I'm thinking I better leave the planet by then.
But it's kind of every lady will react differently. So then you're kind of transitioning through the perimenopause.
Would she still be getting her period? Is that why the confusion happens? Okay.
Yeah, you can, and that kind of leads me on to the menopause, because you're not through the menopause until you've had 12 months, 12 consecutive months of no periods, and then you're,
Okay.
you're in your menopause, and then the time after post-menopause is probably 2 years plus, etc. But the post-menopause stage is what you will be in for the rest of your life, and that's where the third age has come about, because you kind of live a third of your age in this phase. So you kind of, the journey is leading you up to that phase.
We were wondering what third age is, so now I got it.
That's all right. So the third age is, so if you kind of partition it down, so you've got a gap of when you're fertile and you're having children, etc., and then you come into the perimenopausal phase, late 30s, early 40s. The average age of menopause is 51. There, depending on your nationality and your menstrual cycle, etc. And then once you've reached menopause, then that after menopause, if you think from approximately age 51 to the end of your days, try not to sound too awful, then that's your third age. That's a third of your life that you've got left. It sounds awful when you say it like that, doesn't it?
No.
Oh, shall we talk about something happy?
That does sound better than, post-menopause or something like this. Third age, I like it. It's like,
it's easier. It's easier to remember, isn't it?
You've started then this harmonious her.
Yeah.
In Abu Dhabi since when?
I started that. I mean, I had ideas of starting that as a result of my own experience, but I kind of felt that I needed more education before I dangled my toe in, thinking, right, okay, Donna, you need to start, create a menopausal support group. So I did my course. That was the back end of last year, and I think Harmonious Her, I founded that, I think it was January. And then I've just done, there's unbelievably such a huge amount of research that follow other key figures back in the UK, Diane Danzebrooke, Dr. Louise Newson, credible sources. So I'll look at the North American Menopause Society, I'll look at the British Menopause Society, because they're at the forefront of research. And whatever I put on my Harmonious Facebook group, it's backed up by that, as opposed to me just waffling on and sharing my thoughts. It needs to be credible. And with regards to Harmonious Her, it's not a replacement for medical or professional advice. It's literally there as a support group, sharing experiences, sharing advice, and literally like-minded women coming together and supporting one another. Because if you've no idea what's going on in the perimenopausal phase, it can be a very, very lonely place if you think you're the only person going through it. But every woman's going to go through it at some point in their life.
It's kind of like when you're a young girl and you don't equip girls with knowledge of their periods. They have no clue, or they're going through all these changes. Similarly, we don't think to educate ourselves again for the menopause. We're all going to go through it. I want to be equipped with this knowledge. I want to know that if I'm feeling like this or this is happening, then okay, maybe it's this, But again, maybe I don't know, I haven't familiarized myself with that yet, but I'm curious. That's why when you messaged me, I was like, oh, this is something I need to start thinking about paying attention to as well. And I thought there must be other women. Where do they go? So yeah, it's interesting.
Exactly like you said, because when we come to have our children, we kind of educate ourselves about the whole process, the week by week gestation of your child, and what to expect during labour, what's going to happen after, what if we decide to breastfeed. And we, as women, we quite happily educate ourselves about that, and it's all lovely, it's all exciting, which it is. It's a wonderful thing. But then when it comes to the menopause, it is a taboo subject. I mean, that is changing. If I use the UK as an example, you'll see it in the media, newspapers, magazines, TV, radio. It's quite openly spoken about. But then when you come to somewhere like the UAE, it's due to culture and people coming from different parts of the world and different beliefs, etc. It's very different, and you do have to be very mindful of that.
I was interested in your point earlier, about you talking about menopause and nationalities. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, I think it kind of touches back to what you said with regards to, you know, when you first started your period and everything's quite, you know, discreet. Let's use the word discreet. And it's kind of, you know, you've got that mentality that, you know, you kind of chin up, be quiet about it, and as a woman, crack on, deal with it. You know, it happens to every woman, which it does. And women suffer in silence. Women suffer unnecessarily. And again, you know, being mindful of cultures and traditions, and even messages carried down through families, because it was only the other week I spoke to my mum, and I asked her about, well, what was your relationship like with your mum? What was it like with Nana May? And my Nana May, she went through menopause quite early as a result of a late pregnancy, and she carried on working, and nothing was discussed. It was just kind of, well, you got just carry on, and nothing was shared with my mum in the same way. And I know this is going to sound really awful, in that very little was shared from my mum to me. And it's that barrier that we need to break down. We need to normalise the conversation of menopause. And then it becomes an open conversation that, you know, because I know now that I will openly discuss and have discussed with my two daughters. And, you know, other ladies that are listening might think, yeah, educate yourself before you enter that kind of perimenopausal phase. And I would say be very mindful of changes that are going on with your body. Don't dismiss it. Kind of stop and think, right, what's happening? And start to educate yourself. You know, look at there's so much resource on the internet. So look at that, you know, look at your home countries, look at America, look at the UK, for example. And even groups like Harmonious Her, you know, just join the group and just have a look, just have a read of what's going on, familiarise yourself. And I think for me, education is key, because when I look back at my, you know, when I was starting my perimenopausal phase, I was so naive. Honestly, I can't begin to tell you, ladies, I was so.
Do you mind me asking how old you were when it started for you?
Looking back, and after doing the research that I've done, I say I'm probably about 41, 42 when it started happening for me. And for me, it was mental health, and my periods were horrific, and I'll leave it there. They were horrific. And those are huge, big kind of flashing warning signs that, Donna, perimenopausal. But I didn't realise, because I didn't have that education.
Now, sort of looking back, were at 41, 42, what were those 3 or 4 symptoms?
For me, the main symptom, kind of breaking down the mental health, it would be a lack of confidence. I'm sure you've gathered through the very short time of this chat that, Donna's quite confident. But back then at 41, 42, my confidence hit the floor. I started to suffer with anxiety. I had dark thoughts. It was very bizarre. I was just kind of stuck. Even though the sun was shining, it was dark. It was a very dark place to be. I lost, as you know, I'm a personal trainer. I used to train 5 to 6 times a week, so I had quite a good body muscle percentage, whatever. Sorry, and that just went. I was left with loose skin on my bones and sleeplessness. You know, when you are entering the perimenopausal phase, there's some of the symptoms are very reminiscent of depression. And that's where sometimes ladies are put on antidepressants instead of HRT, and that's, you know, where we start to have the issues.
Sorry, what's an HRT? Hormone replacement therapy?
Yes, it is. Yeah. As a menopausal woman, what are your options? Yes, HRT is one of them, as is lifestyle changes, and looking, within that lifestyle changes, looking at nutrition, looking at exercise, looking at your stress levels, looking at, how do you deal with your stress levels? Are you looking at using mindfulness, or you're looking at meditation? Are you doing yoga? Are you practicing Pilates? Or, is your body running at 100 miles an hour? Because if it is, that's going to have an adverse effect on you as well.
So we will add Donna's link of her Facebook group into this thread. So it's well worth, connecting and checking out this group by Donna. And you run, is it weekly? You run the fitness classes. I'm not going to say yoga again.
No, it's all right. Thank you. I actually do the fitness sessions 3 times a week, and the reason why I did that is because, as I've mentioned, kind of training exercise runs very closely with menopause, and it helps to stabilize some of the symptoms that a lady experiences.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Donna. It's great to meet you finally, because we've been in touch on PM, but this is always just so much nicer.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely to see you lovely ladies, and if you ever need to contact me at any time with regards to your menopausal journeys, then please do reach out. Always here. Always here for you ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
everyone for watching. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.